For all things Halloween, this is Hauntformer, and today... What do you want? Today, we are going to be reviewing a movie I've been anticipating for quite some time. It is perhaps my most anticipated film of 2019, and that, of course, is Jordan Peele's Us. So, we know the talent Jordan Peele possesses. We saw it in his breakout hit, Get Out, which was my favorite film of 2017. He also is an amazing comedian. If you haven't checked out Key and Peele, you really should. It's a really funny show and really funny sketches on there. But we know the talent he has, and he is back in the director's chair and writer's chair and producer's chair. Yeah, a lot of chairs. Again, for Us, which tells the story of a woman named Adeline who goes on a summer vacation in California, I believe, and discovers something a bit dark. That there are duplicates of her and her husband and her 2 children that are after them. And I really don't want to give too much away about the film. I'm going to try to be very particular about what I say because there are a lot of little twists and turns here and there. And I don't want to compare it too much to Get Out because while it is somewhat similar in tone, it's very different in terms of its thematic elements. But one thing's for sure, this is a really well done film. The cinematography is great, it's very unique, it's very interesting, and it stands out. There's so many little subtle details and references. A few that I caught one from Chud, there's some to The Shining, there's some to The Lost Boys. There's a lot of little horror references for you horror lovers like myself. It's a really well done movie, and the characters are really well developed. I love Jordan Peele's way to make people feel human. So many times in movies there's just like this wall, but Jordan Peele through comedy and through just realistic events, I guess, makes these characters likable from the get-go, which I really did enjoy.
Alright, hold on. I got this. Let's try this again.
Gabe.
No. Alright.
Gabe!
I got this. Now, I thought I already done told y'all to get off my property, okay? So if y'all want to get crazy, we can get crazy. Now, the cops are already on their way. Hey!
The horror is definitely very creepy. The duplicates are very eerie. And again, I'm trying to watch out for what I say. But if I had to say one thing, this is a very confusing film. And I think it's going to take a few rewatches to understand everything that's happening. Whereas Get Out was confusing in some scenes, overall it was very linear in its storytelling, and you could kind of piece everything together as it happened. The way this film is made goes back and forth in the timeline, and that's not a bad thing. I think non-linear storytelling is a really great craft, but in this film, with certain elements of the story, it got a bit confusing and maybe perhaps a little even over my head in some areas. Not to say that that's bad or anything, just to say it was, like a lot to take in upon first viewing. So I think it's going to take more than one viewing to get everything, especially with the ending, which I won't spoil, at least not yet. I'll put up a warning when I get into spoilers. But just from the get-go, there is that element of the film that it is a more confusing film than Get Out. And the other thing I want to say, too, is whereas Get Out was a very isolated incident, you had this one situation at this, farmhouse. In Us, the story starts small, but gradually gets bigger and bigger in scale. And I don't want to say how big exactly, because it was kind of shocking, at least for me, because I didn't really expect it. But it does get larger in scale, and it goes beyond just the central family that we're focused on, which I thought was a nice touch, and, you know, it helped it stray away from its predecessor, Get Out. But like I said, this film is very confusing, and once you figure out the ending, which I'm not going to spoil for you, and what is actually happening, you begin to wonder about some of the things, and if they all completely make sense. And I think that's just going to take repeat viewings, because there's a lot of detail and a lot of subtle little hints dropped in throughout the movie, and once you completely see Us, you will finally start to get the bigger picture. I really did find it entertaining, especially the first act. The second act was, you know, a bit confusing, but in the third act we kind of understand what's all happening. There were some scenes of exposition that I thought, you know, perhaps could have been, you know, simmered down a little bit because they got a little long in some areas, but I think they were needed in order to explain things. But with all that said, I really did think that Us was a fantastic film. I really recommend it, and I love what Jordan Peele is doing for the horror genre in terms of making things not about jump scares. There's no jump scares in this movie. It's a thought-provoking movie, and I'm still going to be thinking about it for days on end. But with that said, it is confusing in some scenes. Perhaps that's just me. Perhaps I'm just borderline dumb, and I do need to watch it again to understand what's all happening. I think that's going to make a lot more sense too. With all of that being said, I really want to give it a 4, but just because of certain things I've been thinking about, for now, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5 skulls, which is still an awesome score. I know that's a little generic for my score rankings, but this is definitely a horror film apart from the rest, so I don't want to say that it's not a great film. There's just certain things in the movie, and again, once you see it, you'll kind of understand that side of it as to why I'm, you know, in between this 3.5 and 4 range. But I am right there, and I highly recommend you check out Us. Now, I'm going to get into spoilers, and I hope you watch the film before you get into this part, but once you see it, come back and watch the spoiler section.
They won't stop until they kill us. Or we kill them.
Be careful.
So, the spoilers in this movie, the main spoiler is that our main lead character is the Tether. The Tether version of her, I should say. And it really happens at the very end of the movie when you all figure this out, and it's like, it's a lot to process because the whole movie is kind of flipped 180 degrees because everything's backwards. And I don't know, maybe the reason for me trying to figure out the score right there is because it's just so confusing. Again, I think it's just going to be I have to re-watch the film. There's certain things that I found a bit odd, though. They mentioned that the government agency that was controlling this, you know, experiment at one point, you know, they left the experiment, right? Because they were trying to control the people up top with the people down below. Therefore, the two women got switched, and now it appeared that the Tether was controlling the human. It was very confusing. You know, they had the analogy with the rabbits and that we've, you know, tried to clone rabbits in the past, and now we're cloning human beings, but they have no souls. That was a really interesting idea, and I really loved what Jordan Peele was doing with it. Again, I think it just went over my head, and perhaps it might even have gone over yours. So let me know in the comments below, what did you think about Us? Again, I think it was a really well done horror film, and Jordan Peele is a fantastic director and writer. He's a really clever writer too. I hope you all enjoyed this review of Us. I was certainly anticipating this movie, and I want to hear your thoughts again in the comments below, but also have some respect and don't give out spoilers because people want to have fun and enjoy the movie too. See you next time, and remember as always, for all things Halloween, this is Hauntformer.